Hello everyone, welcome to my Corsair K55 RGB keyboard review. This keyboard comes in at a really low price of only $50 US, but for only $50 you do get a keyboard that is packed full of features for its price point. So first off, as you can see, it looks very similar to something like the Corsair Strafe. On the left side of the keyboard, there's 6 dedicated macro keys. The macros are going to be great for gamers or photo/video editors. You can set certain functions on all of these macros to do certain things in certain programs, which I will show a demo of later in the video. All of the keys on this keyboard can be used as macros too, if that's your thing. If you don't want to install software, you can use onboard commands or the function key, or you can use the Corsair iCUE software and configure just about everything. On the top right of the keyboard, there's dedicated volume buttons and also 4 dedicated audio playback keys. It's looking kinda dark in here, let's turn on the lights. This keyboard features 8 key rollover, so if you'd like to slam your face into the keyboard out of rage, only 8 of the keys will register. But for gaming, you're not usually hitting more than 3 or 4, so you should be okay. On the bottom of the keyboard are 4 rubber feet and 2 front height adjustment stands. Corsair kindly includes a detachable wrist rest for this keyboard, which just clips into the bottom of the keyboard. The K55 is very lightweight considering it has a plastic body, but overall it feels like a very durable and sturdy keyboard. This keyboard is not mechanical. If you want that, you're gonna have to buy a Strafe. The switches on this keyboard are actually rubber dome membrane switches. Here's a sound test of that. The RGB lighting inside of this keyboard is very bright, which may not show up in the footage very well, but trust me, with my desk being next to a window, I can still clearly see the light on my keyboard in the daylight. There are 3 lighting zones on this keyboard, one on the left, one in the middle, and one on the right. There's no cherry or kale mechanical bump to the switches, but they do have a small amount of resistance to the beginning of the keystroke. After that bump, it plummets down to the body of the keyboard at light speed. The lights in this keyboard move very fluidly between the 3 zones, so if you're a person who likes to have it on the rainbow wave effect all the time, you're not going to be seeing skipping. Even at its slowest rainbow speed, it's still relatively smooth. If you're going to use the on-key FN command to change the speed of the rainbow wave effect, it does stutter. But if you slow it down through iCUE, then there's not really a stutter to it at all. Speaking about iCUE, let's hop right into the iCUE configurations that you can do with this keyboard. If you don't want LED lights at all for some reason, you can just turn those off. But if you do want lighting, then you can change a plethora of things. You can have the default rainbow wave, you can speed it up and slow it down. You can change the direction too, but it doesn't work how you think it would. Since there's only 3 horizontal lighting zones, the up and down settings act sort of like a color shift, but you can make it go left and right easily. The next setting is color shift. It cycles through colors at the speed you choose. You can also set it to cycle through up to 2 custom colors. After that, you can set it to color pulse, which breathes through a variety of colors. You can also set this to 2 custom colors as well as change the speed. And finally, you can set a static color. You can use their presets on any of these settings, or you can just input a red, green, and blue value, or even a hex color value. You can also layer color settings, such as a static red with a breathing blue on the left and right with a breathing purple in the middle. Really, you can do almost whatever you want, as long as it's limited to 3 zones. Next up, we have the macros. It's pretty easy to set up macros with the software and a supported keyboard. With the K55, it has 6 dedicated macro keys, which we talked about earlier. If you create a new macro, you can assign it to any key and mess with a whole bunch of settings. First off, you can change exactly what you want to record. You can record delays between actions, keystrokes, mouse clicks, mouse scrolling, and even mouse movement. All of these settings can be customized and almost abused if you're using this in games, such as Fortnite and build binds. But for productivity, this is a godsend. Up at the top, you can change profiles. You can create as many profiles as you need, each with their own lighting effects and macros. You can assign iCUE to switch to that profile when a certain program is opened, and you can even assign custom profile images. But let me show you a small demo of how I use these macros. The first profile is my default Windows profile, which is the main one that I have active at almost all times. I have different macros to open different programs, along with a rainbow wave lighting effect. If I hit the key G1, it will open Google Chrome. If I hit G2, it'll launch Adobe Premiere. G3 opens Photoshop, G4 opens the Epic Games Launcher, G5 opens Steam, and finally G6 opens Discord. Hitting the key G2 opens Premiere, but do you see that video editing profile? Let me show you some magic. I have that video editing profile assigned to be toggled on when Adobe Premiere opens, which loads a custom color and custom macros. Let me show you an example. In Adobe Premiere, hitting the C key brings up the cut tool so you can trim a clip to an exact point on the timeline. The cut tool will be active until you change the tool. The select tool shortcut is V, which lets you move clips around and select them. In order to cut a clip and move it, you would need to hit C, click, and then hit V again so you don't just cut the clip again by accident. But here's the power of a macro. I can have the macro hit C, click, and hit V all within a fraction of a second. Pretty cool, right? You just put your mouse where you want to cut, hit the macro, and boom, a perfectly cut clip ready to be moved or deleted. Speaking of deleting things, I do that, but with this macro, I accidentally delete stuff sometimes, or misclick and cut something by accident, but I made a macro to hit Ctrl Z or undo the previous action in a fraction of a second. See? Just like nothing ever happened. I have two macros for copy and paste, and another set of macros to change my workspace. One macro changes it to my After Effects similar workspace, which I built to be as close to the After Effects default workspace as I could possibly get it. The other changes it to a sort of full screen workspace, where I have a large preview window to see all of the imperfections in my videos. Let's go back to my Windows profile. While we're here, let me show you what G3 does. G3 opens Photoshop, and I also have a profile for Photoshop, which loads. I'm sorry, but I don't think that I'll ever be able to get over how cool it is that I can have custom settings for almost any application I can open by hitting one button on my keyboard. The macros I have for Photoshop are for tools I use extremely frequently. I have macros for the Move tool, which literally just hits V, which is the Move tool's default hotkey. It's kind of stupid now that I think about it, but macros are really cool and I want to use them. Also, macros for the Selection tool, Type tool, and other macros that have a semi-legitimate use, multi-hotkeys. The default way to transform something in Photoshop is to click Edit, Transform, and then Scale, or by holding Control and pressing T. But now with macros, I can just hit one button that does everything for me. Same thing for Select All, which is just Control A. But for me, it's one keystroke. But inverting your selection is tough. It requires you to hold down Control, Shift, and tap I, but not with macros. The last three G keys I assigned to open up the Epic Games Launcher, Steam, and Discord. Kinda useless, but pretty cool. You can also assign profiles to certain games, such as Fortnite. You can have it changed to custom lighting effects, and you get a brand new set of 6 macros. I have a macro for Fortnite, which is actually bound to caps lock, because it's super easy to hit while sprint running. Basically, what it does is it places a floor, wall, and ramp super fast, so you can rush someone easily. What?
FBI, open up!
Or you can just assign warp binds to different macros for your Minecraft skyblock. But if you just want to have your keyboard light up different colors for every game, you can just make a new profile, assign it to the game, and create custom lighting. Really, the possibilities with this keyboard are endlessly fun. I love playing around with different macros and settings. But I really do hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I also apologize to all of my old subscribers for the lack of content over the past, forever. I just was never in a mood to actually create content, but I decided to bite the bullet for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, please subscribe to the channel so that you can see when I post a new video in a couple of years. If you want to keep up to date with me, I have social media linked down in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.